Alright, guys, and welcome to the Chapter 4 Practice Test Review. We took that test yesterday, and now we gonna actually do some of the work together. Let's make sure that you are listening the first time you watch or see a problem, and then after that, what you're gonna do is you're gonna pause the video after we've reached the end of the problem and all the work is on the screen, and then you're going to make sure that work is written down on your practice test. Just some ground rules. I mean, I'm saying. All right, so let's get on and let's get moving. Let's start with chapter 1. Not chapter 1. Question 1. All right, which ordered pair is not a point on the graph of y equals negative 4x plus 2? All right, there's a lot of problems here, a lot of points, A, B, C, and D, but I'm going to check B. If I do, I'm going to plug in the 0 and the 2 into the equation y equals negative 4x plus 2. Well, I know 2 is my y, and I know that 0 is my x. And when I plug that in, of course, 4 times 0 is 0, and 0 plus 2 is 2. That is a solution. However, we're looking for the one that is not a point on the graph. So we want the one that's false. So I'm going to check point D. I'm going to plug it in, and I got negative 8 is equal to negative 4 times 2 plus the 2. I know that negative 4 times 2 is negative 8, and negative 8 plus 2 is actually negative 6. And that is absolutely not true. This should be a negative 6. I got ahead of myself with that work there. So if you're just watching the video, it's wrong. But if you're listening to the audio, it's correct. All right, there you go. So, of course, negative 8 does not equal negative 6, which is the correct answer here. I oversimplified. And that is not true. So it is not a solution, and we know that D is the correct answer, even if my work here is incorrect. It should be negative 8 equals negative 6. D is the correct answer for being wrong. So let's go to number 2. What is the f of negative 4 if the f of x is 1/4 of x? All right, cool. So if that's the case, then what it is I am multiplying and I'm substituting in the negative 4 for both of these. And 1/4 times negative 4, of course, is a fraction. I multiply straight across. I get negative 4 divided by 4. And that is just a negative 1. So, of course, that means that the f of negative 4 is equal to negative 1. And this whole box, that's my answer. Rather, the f of negative 4 is equal to negative 1. Skadoosh. And we're going to skip ahead to problem number 10. Why, you might ask? Because if you're looking at problem number 2, they're the same. All right, so let's just substitute in the exact same way that we did with problem number 2. So instead of saying f of x, I have f of negative 2, because that's what I'm doing. And I've got negative 4 times negative 2, because that's where the x is. Excellent. I'm just going to start simplifying. Negative 4 times negative 2 is 8. And 8 minus 10, ironically, is actually negative 2. But see, the f of negative 2, which is what I substituted in here, is equal to negative 2. So f of negative 2 is equal to negative 2. I know, 2 and 10 are about the same thing. All right, let's keep on moving forward. Let's take a look at number 3. Okay, so yeah, I know. Some people are going to solve this without the table. Some people are going to solve this by finding the slope and then substituting into y equals mx plus b, and those people are awesome. But for me, I find the easiest way to do it is with the table. So I'm going to take the first 3 points and I put them into a table. I leave a blank spot above so that I can find the y-intercept or my b. So down both sides, I see that here it is adding by 1. And on the y side, it is adding by 3s. So 3 over 1 is my slope, which is 3. 3 divided by 1 is 3. So to find my b, I go, say it with me, backwards. So I subtract the 1 here because I am adding 1. And then I subtract the 3 because I am adding 3. And of course, that gives me a y-intercept of 0. So I substitute that into our slope-intercept equation, and my equation is y is equal to 3x. Now, why am I trying to derive this equation when my question is really asking me what is our distance on day 11? Because 11 is an x value, and with this, all I've got to do is multiply. Y is equal to 3 times 11, and of course that's y is equal to 33. Kaboom. All right. Number 4. What table represents a linear function? Okay, so there's a lot of table actions going on here. I'm going to look at C. If I'm looking at C, I see that on the x's, I am actually just consistently adding positive 1. And on the y side, I am consistently subtracting the same term, which is negative 4. And that is the key, because I am always just adding by 1 on the x, and I'm always adding by or subtracting negative 4 on the y. I know that is a constant rate of change. And because that rate of change is constant, skadoosh, I have my rate of change, or my slope, which is negative 4 over 1. It's linear, and that's what I'm looking for. So the correct answer for 4 is answer choice the k or C. Sweet. So which table represents a linear function is also question number 11. All right, so here's the deal. When I'm looking at question number 11, it's the same thing. And looking over them, I'm going to look at answer choice A for this table. All right, cool. If I'm looking at the top row, I see that it is consistently adding by 1. That's the x's. They're always being added by 1. Negative 2 plus 1, negative 1, negative 1 plus 1, 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. And on the y side, I am adding by 1 each time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, if it has a constant rate of change, then it is linear. Constant rate of change. This guy was actually lazy, didn't write out rate of change. Whatever. But my answer here is obviously A, because it is a constant rate of change, so that table represents a linear function. If you look back over any of the other answer choices for 4 or 11, you will see that the number being added for the x's or the y's changes. So they are not linear. Sweet. Let's take a look at number 5. And this one is asking which of these are the following represents a nonlinear function. Well, if you look at all of your answer choices, all of them have x's in them, except for one. It has an x squared. See that exponent to the second power, not just 1, but to the second or greater power, makes it non-linear. A non-linear. So I do know that for 5, y is equal to x squared is not linear. It is not linear. So I know that's got to be my answer. Now number 6 seems like it's super complicated, but it was really what we went over on the very last couple of days of this chapter. And I have a slope or a rate of change because he's adding 3 more songs. See, each week he adds 3 more. This is our key to knowing that that is our slope. And after 5 weeks, he has 30 songs. So then I have 5, 30, and that is my x, y. Now, what this does is it lets me try to start looking at the answer choices. Now, for A, Roberto adds 4 songs on his MP3 player per week. Nadir, he adds 3. A is wrong. B, he adds 15. Well, we know it was 3, so B is definitely wrong. And the other ones ask C and D about the initial number of songs. That's the initial value, or B. So let's substitute and find that. I have my slope-intercept equation. All right. I put in my y value, my slope value, or m, which is 3 songs per week, and then the number of weeks, which is 5, plus b. Simplifying, I have 30 is equal to 15 plus b. Subtract 15 from both sides, and I got b is equal to 15. Well, b equals 15. That's the initial value because that is my y-intercept. So my initial value is 15. That, of course, makes C correct and D absolutely wrong. D and A and B are jealous. T-A-B. Dab! All right, here we go. Let's take a look at number 7. This was part of your warm-up for Thursday for numbers 1 and 2, if you're looking at those. But which ordered pair is a solution of the equation given here? Y is equal to 30x minus 40. I ain't got a lot of time, guys. Let's keep this brief. We're going to take a look at A. I'm going to substitute those values in. 20 is my y, so I substitute it in there. 2 is my x, I substitute it in here. 30 times 2 is 60, and 60 minus 40 is 20. Of course, that's true. 20 is equal to 20. And so we're looking for a pair that is a solution. So this must be true at the end. That makes A my answer. Sweet. That is a solution. That is my answer. Thank you very much. I am now circling it in red. Let us move on to number 8. let us state the range, not the domain, but the range, not the domain, but the range, not the domain, but the range. So if I do that, I am looking at the y values. Now the y values I've circled here in red, and yeah, you guys know I love putting them in order from least to greatest because, let's just keep our stuff organized. But the only answer choice here that actually has them all -1, 2, -3, and 4 is the one that has them in that order, and it is the answer choice B. Boom. You'll see the other ones do not have the correct numbers for the y values because we're looking for range. Ironically enough, number 9 starts talking about domain. And so for domain, we're looking at the x value. X value, when presented in column form, is most likely on the left-hand side. So 30, 40, 50, 60, Domain and range. Domain is x values, range is y values. Domain is what? And range is what? That's what I'm talking about. All right. Let's talk about number 12. All right, so this looks super duper complicated, but we have a table, ladies and gentlemen. It is setting us up for how to find initial value. So I'm going to make my table, but see, I'm going to add the other two. We're going to talk about how I got these numbers in a second. But you can see here from the original table that was given to us why I have 10, 15, 20, 25, 18, 19, 20, 21. All right, cool. I know on the x side I am adding by 5s, and on the y side I'm adding by 1. Cool. That means y over x, that would be absolutely 1/5, which is my rate of change. Sweet. Rate of change is 1/5. So now in order to find my b, I got to go, say it with me, backwards. So if I do, that means I have to go back up to 0, because when I have my x value at 0 is when I get my initial value. So a lot of people yesterday when I was walking around, I saw them going back only once to 5, which is why you were confused. And I know that all the initial values are 16, so at this point, if you've tuned out already, you know that the correct answer is C for correct. But in order to know why, and that's why I'm showing the other side, I subtract 1 twice from 18, and I fill in those values, and of course 18 minus 1 is 17, 17 minus 1 is 16, and 16 is my initial value. So that makes my correct answer, of course, C. Which brings us to 13, 14, and 15. Now 13 is something that I'm not going to show all the work for, but I will show the work for the first problem, which is x is equal to -2. And I'm going to substitute that into my function for both of these x's. And you'll see that work here. So it becomes -2. F of -2 is equal to 2 times -2 plus 2. 2 times -2, -4. And -4 plus 2, different signs subtract. So 4 minus 2 is 2. And -4 was larger. So of course, it is -2. And in the same way, I'm going to plug in -1, and that gets me 0. I'm going to plug, because 2 times -1 is -2, and -2 plus 2, of course, is 0. I'm going to plug in 0. So 2 times 0 is 0, and 0 plus 2, it's 2. I'm going to plug in the 1, and 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. Awesome. There you go. And that's 13. Which brings us to number 14. All right, sweet. 14 and 15. They both deal with turkey at the grocery store. All right. So 14 says write a function to represent the situation, which means I need to look at the statement. See, the grocery store sells turkey for $4.25 per pound. Whenever you see the word per, like per hour, per minute, per second, per pound, per whatever, that lets you know that is the rate of change, or the m. And of course, if I'm writing a function, that's just what goes in front of the x, because the f of x is equal to 4.25 times x. Sweet. So now 15 builds on the same question, and it says, is the function continuous or discrete? All right, I was super liberal when I was grading yesterday. I took both answers because a lot of the logic is cool. But let's talk about the two cases. All right, if you say it's discrete, then when you read the question as saying each turkey was a whole dang turkey. And you didn't really kind of pay attention to the per pound part. But if you understood the question as being for a whole turkey, then discrete is the obvious answer. However, continuous, if you understood the question as being for turkey slices, because you can buy those per pound, like the statement is saying, then like you usually buy from the grocery store, then the answer must be continuous. And here's the thing. Because you can buy turkey by the slice and in fractions of a pound, then the answer is continuous. So, of course, continuous is the absolute correct answer. Now, yesterday I did see and give credit to people for getting discrete or continuous, depending upon your explanation. However, because we can buy turkey per pound, and that's what it says in the statement, going here on forward and into your test, continuous is the only correct answer. You have to have a fraction of a pound. You can. So continuous is the only correct answer for number 15. All right. Guys, how to get an A, because a lot of people were complaining that this practice test was hard and the review was weird. Well, hey, watch the video tomorrow. Seriously, guys, you have the notes now on your paper. And if you don't, that means you're watching it for the first time, so watch it again. Pause after the question if there's no one that has, if there's someone that does need to write down the information that was on the screen or what I talked about. And make sure everything that is on this video is on your sheet for the practice test, because that sheet is what you can study from. Watch the video tomorrow, watch it again the day after. Then rework the problems that you missed and watch the problems, just the ones that you missed on the video for the third time the afternoon before the test. Seriously, if you just do these 3 things, I'm pretty much guaranteeing that you get an A. And remember, at the end of the day, you can do it! I have faith in you. I have faith in every single person in this classroom that is watching this video, even the one that got annoyed because there was that mathematical error earlier on. I got faith and you guys can do it. Sweet, man and girl and students, you guys got this. I got you. You guys got this video. You can do it. Go ahead and be awesome. Keep moving forward.